Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for Renaissance Periodization, continuing with our hypertrophy training modalities series, number 2, down sets. Sounds intimidating. Are you down with down sets? What are down sets? Well, down sets are straight sets, to put very simply, where you remember straight sets from last time we did this are sometimes higher load as you go. Usually not. It's just the same weight, like 315, 315, 315, and then you go do another exercise or something. Down sets are straight sets in which you reduce the load after doing some straight sets at a given load. So for example, you squat, you do 315 for a set of 10, 315 for a set of 9, 315 for a set of 6, get real tired. And then you go to 275 and you do another set of 10, another set of 8. That 275 for 2 sets are 2 down sets at 275, down from the higher load that you were doing. So why are we doing them? What's the reason to drop the load? There are fundamentally 2 very good core reasons that we're doing it. There's certainly some others that are peripheral. First, if you are doing fewer than 5 reps per set, probably it's so little volume per set that you don't get a lot of hypertrophy. So we recommend for muscle growth to do sets that are at least 5 reps in duration, and probably anywhere from 5 to 30 is fine. So if you're lifting really heavy in the 5 to 10 rep range and you get tired, as tends to happen, if your next straight set is going to be like 4 reps or less, you might want to say, man, I got to reduce the load so that I can continue to do high quality sets. If I reduce the load, I still get a great stimulus, but it's going to be at, sets of 8 again, or sets of 10, still in that same rep range potentially. And then you get all the benefits and essentially none of the downsides. So that's the absolute reason to do down sets, is because you physically have gotten so tired that you can't get into your rep range that you wanted anymore. There is a relative reason as well. Stimulus to fatigue ratio. At some point, whether it is fewer than 5 reps that you're starting to look at for your next sets, or fewer than whatever rep range reps that you had in mind, if you drop out of that rep range, you know from personal experience in many cases that your stimulus to fatigue ratio tends to not be as great. For example, pull downs, and this is not dogmatic. This doesn't work like this for everyone, but for myself personally as an example, if I do pull downs, anything between 10 to 20 reps gives me a good stimulus. But if I get fewer than 10 reps on average, any set of pull downs fewer than 10 reps, I don't think because pull downs tend to happen pretty quickly. The duration of exposure, the time under tension is just so low, I don't get a big stimulus. So if I get tired enough with, let's say, 150 pounds to where my next set is going to be like 9 or 10 reps for pull downs, if I go down in weight, say 120 pounds, and I go back up in reps, say 15, the stimulus of that set is way better. And the fatigue, like elbow pain and shoulder stuff, because the weight is lower, sometimes is lower. So the stimulus to fatigue ratio for some exercises, I'll actually put this in a more general way. Every exercise for every individual at any given time has an optimum rep range in which it gets its best stimulus to fatigue ratios. And that might not be the entire 5 to 30 range. It might be 5 to 10, it might be 10 to 15, and so on. So if you are so tired with your straight sets that your stimulus to fatigue ratios are going to start to scoot down because the reps are getting too low and your best SFRs are actually at higher reps, doing down sets can actually make the future sets that you do a little bit better in stimulus to fatigue ratio and thus, give you all the results that you're looking for. What qualifies as a load drop for down sets? The basic answer is anything, but usually it's 5 to 30%. 30%? What? That's a lot. How the hell does that work? Well, sometimes some exercises are so fatiguing that in order to get back to the top of a rep range, a 30% drop might be needed. What's an example? Deadlifts. All right. You do like 4 sets of deadlifts with 405, and the last set is like, you wanted 5, and you got 4 reps. How do you make your next set of deadlifts more like 10 reps? Like if you drop the weight by 5%, you get like 2 reps. And then you'll be like, what the hell am I doing? Is deadlifts so fatigue you, and their fatigue drop is so crazy exponential that you hang in there for a bit and you just drop off. If you want to get back into a productive rep range, you may have to do as little as, 70% of the prior load. It's unusual. Much of the time, the best SFRs are generated with a roughly 10%, 10 to 15% load drop. So for those of you watching this to try to go to the gym the next time and how much should I drop? 10 to 15% is a really good drop for most people in most cases. What you do is you drop the load, you do several more normal rest sets, several more basically straight sets at a lower load, and higher reps are the results, and that can lead to some good things. What are the situations in which these sets are a good idea? Well, that basically is the same thing as asking what the upsides are. If you need to prevent your sets from dropping below 5 reps, down sets are a classic way to go. Very good solution to that problem. If you're noticing that the reps aren't high enough to give you your best stimulus to fatigue ratios, then it's time to do down sets. Great solution to that problem. In addition, there is one more special benefit here. In many cases, your technique can start to degrade with fatigue. You start at 315 in the squat for a set of 10. By the time it's a set of 6, 4 sets later, you're like, someone's like, hey, how's your technique feeling? You're like, I don't feel anything anymore. I'm just trying to survive. But if you go from 315 and we put 275 on the bar for your next set, a lot of times 275 feels so much lighter. And because you've been training at the heavier load at 315, you're so potentiated, your nervous system is so primed for heavy loads that the load feels ultra light, and you've had tons of practice in the squat and your quads are already pre-pumped. A lot of times the mind-muscle connection you experience in the first few sets of down sets is out of this world and is a huge benefit. And because the mind-muscle connection is so awesome, and because the load is much lighter, and because you're primed and very well practiced in the technique, down sets offer excellent, great technical practice while also being hypertrophic. So another reason to do a down set is sometimes, even if you're still doing sets of 6 or 7, more than 5, you start to notice your technique is getting a little funky, and you're just too fucking tired and the weight's too goddamn heavy. If you reduce the weight by 10 to 15%, then the next few sets feel amazing again, even better than the first few sets, and your technique is just right on the money. So something to try if you're in that situation. What are the downsides? In other words, when do we not want to use downsets potentially? Well, first, they can take a long time to do because they're really just straight sets at a lower weight. You got to rest whatever the rest factor is from the last video, like the 4-factor rest model. Like cardio has to be good. You have to feel strong again. Your synergies have to be good. Your muscles have to be at least capable of 5 reps. And it can take a few minutes, and sometimes you're in a rush or you have a constrained time and you just don't want to sit around for that long. So, down sets are not the ideal in that situation. Like, who does down sets? Powerlifters. Right? They'll occupy the rack for 45 fucking minutes straight. They do 3 sets, and they're like, hey man, you almost done with that? They're like, nope, got down sets. They're like, okay. And they're like, all right, sweet. And they like take 315 off, put 275 on, and sit back down. You're like, God damn it. Like, you have more sets, right? They're like, huh? Like, what the fuck are you doing now? Like, I'm resting for the next set. Like, I'm just leaving the gym. Just going to go lift cars in the parking lot. Fuck this. Right? So a lot of times it takes a long time. And there's another problem with down sets. It's not really a problem with down sets. It's a problem with applying them sort of getting too carried away. And here's the problem. If you get really tired and your mind-muscle connection starts to really go, you sort of have 2 options for that muscle group. One is you just leave the gym, and 2 is you continue to train. If you only ever do straight sets, at some point you will drop below 5 reps, and you just have to leave the gym because there's nothing else to be done in a hypertrophic range. However, if you abuse down sets, I just got an idea about like a 1980s anti-drug commercial. Are your kids doing down sets after school? Mom's like, oh, geez. So if you're doing too many down sets, what ends up happening is you can just keep lowering the weight and just keep cranking out reps. And you're like, I feel great. Low reps or start to hit you again, and you just reduce the weight and you just keep going. This can result in insane amounts of junk volume, which is to say volume that, as we do more sets, we stimulate more growth. Junk volume starts to appear when any further sets cause almost no gains. And then junk volume really hits when further sets cause no more gains. And junk volume is the worst when further sets actually cause less gains. Terrible. There is a situation, point number 4, hypothetically, in which further sets actually cause muscle loss. That's highly unlikely to happen in the gym. And so you have to be aware of the situation of, tracking your pump and your previous week's soreness to have a distinct cutoff point. You don't want to get carried away with down sets, because if you don't have those cutoff points from other information about your training, you can just keep going and be like, oh yeah, I did 20 sets of squats today. And someone's like, you're squatting 50 pounds. Like, well, it's challenging for me now because I'm so tired. Like, I'm really sure you're working anything at this point. Your faster fibers, they have a beret and the French sailor shirt. And we've been done for 15 sets, right? There's nothing's going on anymore that's super productive. So if you're aware of that, down sets can be excellent because they can if you know how many sets you have to do to get roughly the volume you need, and you've done, let's say it's 7 sets, you've done 5 of them straight, shit's getting too heavy, mind-muscle connection sucks, 2 of them you do as down sets, perfect, everything's awesome, and you're good to go. So if you don't abuse the practice, these are awesome tools. Next time, we'll talk about another training modality, and we'll go through all the ones that we know about. Folks, if you have any questions, shoot them in below. Like, subscribe. Remember that girl that you used to have a huge crush on back in 6th grade? Find her on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever the fuck kids are doing nowadays. I missed something. TikTok. And DM her to tell her about these videos that we're doing here at RP. Be like, I know you might not remember me. I'm Kyle. I sat behind you in 3rd grade. I used to smell your hair, and they used to send me to the principal's office for that. I've changed. I promise. Dr. Mike, he's on RP. He's got tons of information. I just wanted to tell you that. P.S. I hope you're doing well. And really sorry about what I did to your cat that one time. See you next time.